What's up, YouTube? Mr. Lamissy here, and today we're going to be talking about the Sorceress in Project Diablo 2. We will be discussing some of the differences from vanilla, and as well as some of the builds that the Sorceress is playing through, and we have kind of seen on the ladder. So, let's jump on in. First things first. You'll notice there's definitely some changes to these trees, right? You can already see static and telekinesis at level 1 right there. There are some changes to those as well. There's now a cold enchant as well as a fire enchant. There's a new skill called Ice Barrage. You have a lesser Hydra. You have combustion added right here and a big mix-up on all sorts of stuff with all of this. So really some big changes for this character. Let's talk about each spec kind of individually. First, we'll talk about cold. Cold is not doing so hot. Get it? Because it's cold. All right. Cold isn't doing so great as of late. It feels like cold kind of needs a little bit of a buff. We have Frozen Orb, we've got Blizzard, we have Ice Barrage, and, you know, we can kind of go and show these a little bit. But essentially, what we're just seeing is the damage just isn't quite there. This is your Ice Barrage, so it shoots out just a bunch of ice bolts. But really, overall, we're just not seeing enough damage from cold. The only skill I'd say that's really doing kind of okay is Frozen Orb. But even then, it's still not feeling super amazing. I want to show off the new Frozen Orb because they did change it. Let's go to, like, find some monsters. So Frozen Orb is back with faster casting, right? Much less of that cooldown. So that is kind of a fun thing. And Frozen Orb is doing all right because you kind of have that multi-orb. But it's still overall not really performing quite as well, I would say. But you do have Ice Blast in addition to Ice Bolt for additional damage. So you can kind of boost it up a little bit more, right? Blizzard, I haven't really seen a lot of people running Blizzard that well or that much, so it feels like that is also not quite as good. We've lost Frozen Armor. It's now been merged, I believe, into this, maybe not. I think Frozen Armor's just gone. Blizzard's good in cows. Yeah, like you still have cold is okay. I guess that's the best way to put it. Ice Barrage, okay. Frozen Orb, decent. Blizzard, okay. Frost Nova, actually quite good. The damage on Frost Nova, actually quite good. So let's go ahead and do this. And boost this up. But it's close quarters, and that kind of ends up being the really difficult part with it, I would say. Is that, right, it's good, but in order for it to be good, you have to be in close range. And so you go in, and you're just going to die a lot more with it overall. So, stronger spell, but kind of iffy, I feel like. Overall in the cold, it definitely feels like you need to have Death Fathom. You need to have like all of this like stuff to really boost your cold damage to make it get to that later stages. But I'd love to see people kind of play around with Ice Bolt and Ice Blast and, you know, Glacial and stuff along the way and see if it's doing anything. I imagine there's also potentially some sort of good cold fire enchanting, but I've yet to see it, and that's probably because it's going to be really, really gear-based, I would imagine. Because remember, everything is melee splash now, so you can get some cold fire, melee splash, enchantress And that could potentially be a good build. I'd love to see one of those. Additionally, another reason that Frost Nova doesn't work as well is because they've changed the skill of teleport. I can't even teleport. Are my frames too slow? Oh, it doesn't work in Cold Plains. Thank you. I was like, good lord. We'll talk about that in a tiny bit, I guess. So you can see she's so much slower now when teleporting. Additionally, whenever I have that little circle running under me, I do 50% less damage. So that lasts right after a teleport as well. So now she uses the lightning frames for teleporting instead of the standard teleporting frames, and it really slows her down and makes it a lot more difficult. So if you're going to try and do like a tele in and Frost Nova build, you get less time and it's a lot harder. So that's a nerf to the Sorceress. So overall, lightning, I haven't seen a lot of either, but it feels like lightning also might pick up in the late game. And then I haven't really seen anybody running energy shield either. Static also has a big change. Static now does 50% in normal, 66% in nightmare, and like 80% in hell. Of like, that's how much health they have remaining. So it's actually way worse in terms of that. But it does have an enemy lightning res pierce to it there. So you can actually see, right, enemy lightning resistance is minus 6%. So one of the nice things about static field is you go up, you static the monster down to whatever it is. But if you have lightning damage or if you're playing with lightning characters, that static will drop the resistances of those monsters, which is very nice. There are some changes here to things like Thunderstorm. So Thunderstorm now cast your Nova whenever it hits. Right? So if I just run like this and go find a monster, it'll drop down and hit, but then it'll also cast a Nova around it. So it's a little something, you know, a little bit nice. But yeah, it still feels like Lightning Chain Lightning is still the standard build that you're going to go for light. And potentially it's good late game. But overall, I would say the entirety of the Sorceress feels nerfed and difficult. However, that is until you get to the Fire Tree. Fire Tree, I think, is the best tree so far. First thing is Lesser Hydra. People are having a grand old time with. So in the early, when they were rushing through, I saw a lot of people doing a lot of stuff with the Hydras and Lesser Hydras there. And it seemed like they were really just murdering everything. It's the main Hydra. It's a lesser one. So, seems like this build, not bad. Yes, I will have these files. Not with items, but I will have these files for you guys to play around with. A lot of people seem to have been enjoying some of the Hydra stuff. But that's still not the skill that really needs to be talked about. The skill that we really need to be talking about is this one right here, Mr. Combustion. This skill right here is a skill that does a big AoE. So it's like the Holy Nova. And you say, what's so great about that, Mr. Llama? Okay, you know, so you go and you hit something and you do some damage and whoop-de-doo. Well, what's good about it is that it's fireballs. And what's great about fireballs is that when fireballs are next to walls, all of the fireballs explode. Meaning, all you need to do is get next to the wall and it just murders stuff so much. I mean, I'm running no plus skills whatsoever here, no gear whatsoever, and it has this just huge shotgunning effect to it. So if you get Andy in a corner and do that, you get like 30 fireballs and you can literally just one-shot Andy. It's crazy. So this might be the best build in the game. Top 3 for sure. Nobody puts Andy in the corner except the Combustion Sorceress. Very, very good. Very, very, very good. So this is what a lot of people are playing around with right now is the combustion, fireball, fire mastery. Meteor doesn't feel as good. Meteor drops faster, so we can actually show like how Meteor goes here. Where's my meteors at? Right. So you can see it's a faster drop and a slower burn. And it's okay. It definitely isn't bad. And it does a physical damage, so it can kill fire immunes as well. Meteor is definitely not bad. But overall, next to combustion, I think it's just like, why am I going to put everything in here? That's kind of my thoughts. But it's okay. I like the increased drop speed on it there. Our Fire Sorceress ran Meteor for a while, and it seemed to be fine. So honestly, it feels like you can run Meteor, you can run Combustion, you can run Hydras. All of those seem to be doing decently well. Lightning, not feeling too strong right now. Cold, doing okay, but not feeling too strong. You can no longer glitch Mephisto, because he just walks over the moat. He now can fly. And as for why I could not teleport out here, that is because there are now some no tele zones. Cold Plains, Nilithax area, and the Halls of the Dead. And the reason for that is because there are now key drops at Bloodraven. Obviously Nilly has his, and then there's a key drop at the boss in the Halls of the Dead level 3, and so they made no telly areas to some of the keys. That's just something they decided to do. So anyways, those are some of the builds and some of the styles for the Sorceress. Definitely a lot to play around with. Like I say, I'd love to see a cold and fire enchant source someday. I'd love to see, the maggot lair is a fantastic place to farm with combustion, by the way. I'd love to see maybe some people figure some stuff out with cold that's a little better. But regardless, let me know what builds you're playing, how you're doing in the comments right there, what feels strong, what feels weak. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Peace, YouTube.